The morning light barely filtered through the curtains, casting a pale glow across the room where Josie lay. Her small frame, once full of laughter and energy, now seemed fragile, almost like a delicate porcelain doll. Her parents, Jim, Bob, and Michelle, hovered beside her bed, their faces etched with exhaustion and fear. Every breath she took felt like a silent plea, every shallow movement a reminder of how precious and fragile life was. "Mom. Dad," Josie whispered, her voice faint and trembling. The words barely reached them, but they were enough to make Michelle's heart clench painfully. Jim Bob held her tiny hand gently, trying to mask the trembling in his own fingers. "We're here, Josie. We're not going anywhere," he murmured. The words sounded strong, but behind them lay a torrent of worry that neither parent could contain. The doctors had said she was very sick. There were treatments, medications, and interventions, some experimental, some routine, but nothing seemed to fully reach her. Every day brought new challenges, new hurdles, and new heartbreaks. The house, once filled with the chatter of many children, had fallen silent. The other Duggar siblings tiptoed around the room, whispering prayers and words of encouragement, too afraid to disturb the fragile peace. Michelle brushed a strand of hair from Josie's pale forehead, tears sliding down her cheeks. "Sweetheart, we're going to fight this together," she whispered, pressing a soft kiss to Josie's temple. The tiny hand in hers squeezed back, a faint but precious sign of trust. Night fell slowly, wrapping the house in darkness. Outside, the world went about its normal pace, unaware of the battle being waged within these walls. Inside, love, hope, fear, and despair mingled, swirling around Josie like an invisible storm. Her life hung in balance, and her parents' hearts weighed heavy with the knowledge that time might be cruel. Jim Bob leaned closer, resting his forehead against Josie's. "You are stronger than we'll ever know," he whispered, though the words carried a tremor of doubt. Yet in that moment, the family found a fragile kind of hope, a hope born not from certainty, but from love so deep it refused to surrender. The next morning, the sun rose slowly over the Duggar household, but its warmth did little to chase away the chill that had settled in the room. Josie's condition had worsened overnight. Her breathing was shallow, her skin paler than ever. Machines beeped softly, monitors tracked every tiny fluctuation, and the air was thick with a tension that words could never fully capture. Michelle clutched Josie's hand, rocking it gently back and forth. "Hold on, sweetheart. Please just hold on," she whispered, her voice breaking. Each word was a desperate prayer, each moment a battle against the creeping fear that the unthinkable might happen. Doctors moved quickly in and out, their faces calm, their voices measured, but to Jim, Bob, and Michelle, every clinical term and controlled instruction felt like a fragile rope, barely keeping them tethered to hope. "The infection is aggressive," one doctor explained softly, "but we're giving her every possible treatment. We need her to fight." Jim Bob's jaw tightened as he watched his little girl struggle. He had always been the pillar of the family, the one who faced challenges head-on. But now he felt helpless, reduced to watching, waiting, and praying. He whispered silently, "Josie, you're my brave girl. Please fight for us. Please fight for yourself." Outside, the world moved on, but inside the room, time seemed to stretch endlessly. Every small movement Josie made, a flutter of her fingers, a tiny cough, a half-smile, was a victory. Every pause of stillness, every shallow breath, was a reminder of how close they were to losing her. The siblings gathered quietly around the room, offering soft words, small prayers, and the kind of presence that only family can give. Each of them feared the worst, yet they refused to let despair take over completely. They shared glances filled with unspoken promises. "We are here. We will not let go." As night fell again, Michelle held Josie in her arms, rocking her gently while Jim Bob stood nearby, rubbing his face in exhaustion. "We can't give up. Not now," Michelle whispered, though her eyes betrayed the fear that threatened to break her. In that dimly lit room, surrounded by the love of her family and the quiet hum of medical machines, Josie clung to life. Every heartbeat, every breath, was a silent testament to the strength of her will, and to the unwavering devotion of her parents, who would fight with every ounce of their being to see their little girl survive. The hospital room was quiet, save for the steady beep of the monitors and the occasional shuffle of nurses' footsteps. Night had deepened into an almost suffocating darkness, the kind that made every shadow feel heavier, every whisper more urgent. Josie's small body lay fragile on the bed, her breathing shallow and uneven. Michelle leaned close, brushing damp hair from Josie's forehead. "You're not alone, baby. We are right here," she whispered, pressing her lips to Josie's temple. Each word trembled with fear and hope, a delicate balance neither parent knew how long they could maintain. Jim Bob stood silently at the foot of the bed, his hands clasped tightly. His eyes followed every tiny movement, every flicker of Josie's eyelids. He had watched his children grow, laughed at their triumphs, and mourned their small sorrows. But nothing had prepared him for this. "We've got you, Josie. Whatever comes, we're here," he murmured, though the tremor in his voice betrayed the depth of his dread. The doctors had adjusted her medications, trying new treatments, but progress was painfully slow. Each improvement was fleeting. Each setback felt catastrophic. Michelle gripped her daughter's hand, counting each heartbeat, willing life to continue. "Come on, sweetheart. You can do this. Please fight for us," she whispered, tears sliding down her cheeks silently. Outside the room, the world slept, oblivious to the battle being waged inside. But within those walls, hope and fear coexisted, entwined in every whispered prayer, every soft touch, every tear-stained glance. One of Josie's siblings, barely able to hold back their own fear, stepped closer, brushing a hand against her tiny shoulder. "We love you, Josie. You're our brave girl," they whispered. And in that fragile, flickering moment, Josie's lips twitched into a faint, fleeting smile. A fragile sign of life that ignited a spark of hope in every heart present. Hours passed slowly, the night stretching endlessly. Jim Bob and Michelle sat beside her bed, sometimes holding her hands, sometimes just watching, praying that the dawn would bring a miracle. Every sound, the soft beep of the monitor, the rustle of a blanket, Josie's faint breaths, was magnified, a reminder of the precariousness of life and the depth of their love. In the stillness of that night, it became painfully clear. Josie's fight was not just her own. It was a battle shared by every heart in the room, a test of hope, faith, and resilience. And though the future remained uncertain, one truth stood firm. They would not give up on her. Not tonight. Not ever. The morning sun barely penetrated the thick curtains of the hospital room, casting a muted, gray light. The world outside seemed distant, almost unreal, as the Duggar family gathered around Josie's bed. Her breathing had slowed even more, each tiny rise and fall of her chest a fragile thread holding her to life. Michelle held her daughter close, rocking her gently, whispering words of love and reassurance. "Stay with us, Josie. Please don't go. We love you so much," she murmured, tears streaking her face. Her heart ached with every shallow breath Josie took, yet she refused to surrender hope. Jim Bob knelt beside the bed, pressing a hand over Josie's tiny one, feeling the faint pulse beneath his fingertips. His voice, choked with emotion, trembled as he whispered, "You're our brave girl. We're here, every step of the way. Fight, Josie. Just a little longer." The siblings hovered close, their faces pale and anxious. They held hands, said quiet prayers, and shared whispered words of love and encouragement. Though fear loomed over them all, they refused to leave her side. Each small sign of life, a flutter of her eyelids, a faint grasp of a hand, was celebrated as a miracle, no matter how fleeting. The doctors moved with quiet efficiency, checking monitors, adjusting medication, offering gentle reassurances, but even their calm professionalism could not erase the tension in the room. Every second felt both endless and unbearably short, a cruel paradox that kept hope and despair so closely intertwined. Michelle rested her forehead against Josie's, whispering stories of happier days, of laughter and play, of love so deep it could span lifetimes. "You've always been our shining light," she murmured. "And you still are, Josie. Still are." Jim Bob spoke softly, recounting memories, moments of joy and pride, trying to fill the room with warmth, even as their hearts broke silently. "We will never stop loving you. Never," he said. His words were a vow, a promise to the fragile life before him. In the silence of that room, punctuated only by Josie's fragile breaths, the family clung to one another, drawing strength from their shared love. Though the shadow of uncertainty loomed, they refused to let go. Every heartbeat, every breath, every whispered word was a testament to the unyielding bond of family, and the fierce hope that even in the darkest hour, love could endure. As the day wore on, the room remained still, heavy with quiet prayers, tears, and a love that refused to surrender. And in that fragile stillness, Josie's family held her close, determined to give her the warmth, the strength, and the hope she needed. Even if the world outside could not understand the depth of their devotion. The evening sky outside was painted in muted shades of orange and gray, but inside Josie's room, the world had narrowed to a fragile bubble of light, sound, and love. Josie lay in her bed, her small body trembling with each shallow breath. The monitors beeped steadily, but every sound felt amplified, a constant reminder of how fragile life had become. Michelle held Josie close, her tears soaking the small blanket that covered her. "Stay with us, baby," she whispered, her voice breaking. "We can't imagine life without you. Please fight. Just a little longer." Every word was a plea, every tear a testament to a mother's boundless love. Jim Bob's hand was clutched tightly around Josie's, his knuckles white, his heart heavy with fear and hope intertwined. "You've been our little miracle from the start," he murmured. "And we believe in you, Josie. We're right here, never letting go." The siblings gathered around the bed, their voices soft, filled with whispered prayers, memories, and words of encouragement. They spoke of happier times, of laughter and play, of hugs and smiles, trying to surround Josie with warmth, to remind her of all the love that waited beyond the hospital walls. Time seemed to stretch and bend. Each second was both precious and terrifying. Every small movement Josie made, a twitch of a finger, a flutter of her eyelids, was met with whispered gratitude and a surge of hope. And yet, the shadow of fear lingered. Michelle pressed her forehead to Josie's, speaking softly. "You are our heart, our joy, our everything. Please, don't leave us. Fight for us, fight for yourself." Jim Bob echoed the words, his voice trembling with emotion, while tears slid down his cheeks unnoticed. And in that fragile, heart-wrenching silence, something miraculous happened. Josie's small hand, weak but determined, squeezed her mother's. Her eyes fluttered open, shimmering with a faint spark of life. A shaky breath escaped her lips, a sign that the battle was not yet over. The room seemed to exhale collectively. Love, hope, and relief washed over every face. They knew the fight wasn't finished. Her path remained uncertain. But in that fleeting, breathtaking moment, Josie had reminded them of her strength, the quiet, enduring bravery that had carried her this far. They held her close, whispering promises of love and devotion. And though the world outside moved on unaware of the struggle within, in that small room, life, hope, and love had triumphed, if only for a heartbeat. In the days that followed, Josie would continue to face battles, each one a test of her fragile body and indomitable spirit. But her family had learned something timeless, that love, unwavering and fierce, could be the most powerful force of all, capable of sustaining